All right, and welcome back to another Conquest Corner. So, on this episode, my goal is to go through another faction for the new rules update they just put out as of today, January 12th. You might see this the next day, but trying to do all around the same day. And for this one, we're going to go through the 100 Kingdoms. So, originally, I was, as of last week, going to put out a why you should be playing 100 Kingdoms, because I'm trying to do that for all the different armies. I delayed it though until these rule changes because I don't want to say anything if they got some big change we weren't aware of, that then half my video is no longer valid. Luckily, that didn't really happen. We're going to see these are very minor changes. Now, keep in mind, this is one of the armies that got an update in, I believe it was September. So, or might have been a little bit after that, but they didn't get quite as much changes. Maybe some of the other ones did. So, a few things to keep in mind. One, if they don't highlight something, there's a chance that we miss it. I did look through and try to catch everything because they don't highlight deletions. They only highlight additions or changes. The other thing is, if you're looking at buying any Conquest stuff, remember down below, we do have a link. Code is Terrain Kickers that you can use to save yourself 10% on anything that you buy, and helps out the show as well. So if you're looking at getting anything saved for 100 Kingdoms, nice way to save some money. All right, let's take a look then. All right, so we're just going to quickly try to highlight all the differences here. Imperial Officer has changed. Imperial Officer before was that everyone gets Vanguard. That was your supremacy. If that is your leader, everyone's Vanguard. That's no longer the case. It's during your. This is very similar to what the Nords have for their Shaman. That during a reinforcements phase, you choose 2 friendly regiments that are not on the battlefield, and they gain Vanguard. So where this comes into play, if you were having 3 or 4 units coming in, that's another thing. But you can now just make sure you have at least 2 having Vanguard. Not absolutely everything gets Vanguard. So a good change. Everything having Vanguard at all times, no matter what, is probably a little bit much. All right, so we'll take a look at the first character. Is that Imperial Officer, the one that gives that Vanguard. And we'll notice that he has the new rule, Forward Force. Forward Force gives you a flank. Sorry, gives you flank, I should say. Not gives you a flank. Gives you flank. So you can guarantee for the unit that the Imperial Officer's in, that you can guarantee exactly what turn they're going to show up. So quite good. Remember, for this update, there is no longer retinues. Your retinues do things like make you indomitable, get extra upgrades, give you flank, so it costs you 30 points to do it in the past. I always looked that up on the old app because some people's retinues were a little bit different for the things they did, at least in Old Dominion they were. You can't give yourself the extra wounds, the extra attacks, the extra clash and cleave. That was what your combat retinue did. Your arcane gave you an extra level for your spells, scaling at -2 stands, and 1 failure is a success. So you've lost all of those things. What you're getting then, they get tacked on 15 points, no overall stat change. You are getting that forward force, you're getting the free flank, so it is technically cheaper than if you wanted it before. And now you're getting 2 heirlooms. You used to only be allowed 1, so you are being allowed to take additional upgrades. Taking those extra upgrades can really help you out with what you want to do. Since you could only take 1 before, yeah, you're going to spend more for this, but overall you still might be spending less because you're not spending all the retinue points. For options of what I would probably do, taking a look, I don't know. I don't have a great feel for the moment of what I would take. Depends on the unit he's in. If he's in, a unit of, say, Men-at-Arms, or maybe even like as a Gilded Legion or something like that, you might want a good weapon or something to make him more defensive. You do have a bit of both of those. You could give the stand Dread if you really want to, if you're putting that in a really good unit to make sure your opponent isn't getting inspired versus you. Let's see. Dauntless might not be bad, especially if you are wanting to sit in one of those ones. That way you're always inspired, all of that. That's really good for some of these units. Those are the ones I tend to see, but now maybe you can go with a little bit more. Shroud of Lazarus isn't bad. +1 resolve and fearsome. So you could do that instead. Remember, those are banners. You can only take 1. So you should only be able to take 1. Maybe now you add an armor or a weapon, because I usually saw it with the other upgrades instead. All right, so that gives you some options there. Like I said, if you were always taking a banner, which is usually what I saw, maybe now you take some armor so he actually survives. All right, characters are where most of the changes occurred, both for this army as well as tons of them. Noble Lord went up by 10 points, but you're getting what you paid for, and that's absolutely fine. So 1, weapon arts used to be 1. Now you get 2 weapon arts. And if you notice, this is put here, on the right side is the old stuff. on the left side is the brand new stuff. So you can see that here as well. But now you can take 2, and they have changed what they did. So Weapon Master didn't change, Relentless didn't change. Powerful Physique now gives you Tenacious, where before it gave you an extra wound. Duelist gives you +1 to your Clash, where before it gave them Parry. Remember, you used to be able to get the +1s from Retinues. That's been removed, so now they've altered this as well. And Graceful Combatant, that is actually new. They didn't mark it as brand new, but it is actually brand new. You get +2 to your attacks. The fact that you get 2 of them means that you can get back most of what a Retinue did, or better. Because now, for your Noble Lord was sitting on, 4 attacks. You can get to 6 attacks. You can make yourself a Clash of 4. Or if you need to instead, Relentless, you can give yourself Flurry. You could give yourself Cleave 1. It depends on the weapon that you're taking. You have a single Heirloom. For this guy, I would probably be taking one of the weapons. That's what I would want. What do I like? I don't like it. I don't like half their weapons. Their weapons are actually... Their weapons are kind of bad. I'm not going to lie. I just looked and I checked. The weapons haven't changed. Fiend Hunter and Deadly Blades is probably your best bet. So, which one is that? That is the Flesh Cleaver for 15. That's not bad. Yeah, the other ones aren't really going to be helping. Brute Regiments reroll successful defense rolls when resolving hits from it. The Unwrought isn't bad either for 5 points, because that means if you go against something at Brutes, they're rerolling successfuls. The defense rolls, I don't know. I would have expected their weapons to be a little bit better. They're really not, but that's okay. And what's when doing a dual action? Yeah, or if you're teeing them up to duel, Color Burn isn't bad, and then I would take the extra attacks and the extra Clash, or the Cleave. Actually, I would take the Cleave. I'd probably take the +2 attacks and the Cleave. All right, not super excited about that, but that's okay. Noble Lord, the Mounted Noble Lord, kept the same points, but just changed that it got the same exact weapon options, but it may only weapon arts, but it only allows 1. So you may only get 1, and you are missing. Was it the +2 attacks? You don't have the +2 attacks, so you can't give them extra attacks. You don't need that. It's a Noble Lord on a horse. You're already doing well. Horses in general got hit a little bit. Mounted Priority Commander did not change, or your Order Priority Commander did not change. Your Theist Priest did, though. Most Wizards did, because most Wizards went up by about 10 points, but also then got the extra level. So Theist Priest used to be 90, is 100 now, and you are getting the extra Priest level. So you are, in some ways, better with spells, but for the price, no. Because you used to be able to take multiple levels and get an auto success and get an extra die. So you're essentially getting level 1 retinue for nothing, but you can't get the extra levels, which you usually wanted. When we take a look at the Chapter Mage, because the Chapter Mage did get some alterations. My apologies. Went over the top there a little bit. For the Chapter Mage, +10 points gets the extra wizard level, which is, again, that was what it would have cost you anyway. But the Chapter Mage does get 2 new spells. So you do select one of the schools. Schools have not changed. What's in them has not changed. But now you also get Elemental Vortex and Elemental Missile. Remember, you may cast 1 spell naturally, and now you get some choice. For the next change, I did check all of this because sometimes they delete these and don't tell us. None of this changed. The masteries did not change at all. The spells, the change is what we see here. So, my apologies. This is all for our Chapter Mage. So the Chapter Mages who had differences in spells. I'm just scrolling the other one so I have them available to me. What is it? Neuma's Tears is 3. It was a 3. What it used to be before, for every success you got, the regiment heals 1. And in addition, they reroll failed morales, rolls of a 6 till the end of the round. Now it's a flat 2. In addition, heals 1 additional wound per success. So no longer helps on morale, but now you get 2 and then +1s instead of just the base +1s each. So you're healing more wounds, but you're not helping your morale at all. A worthwhile trade, because you don't take morale on things that survive. So maybe if you're healing up some wounds, maybe you're not, no, actually that's not really going to help. It's a side grade. getting 2 extra wounds is big. That might cover the 6s. Depends on what your morale is. Your morale tends to be pretty bad. It's not like your morale. I mean, if you're a big enough unit, you're good. But on some of your smaller units, it's not like your morale 5s where you're, failing so little. Your morale tends to be somewhat low or lower from what I've seen. And maybe that's an old Dominion player. So I minus you by 1. But I probably do like the 2 wounds a little bit more. And let's face it, it's going to be easier to remember because it happens in the moment. You're not going to forget about it. So overall side grade, I like it, but probably a side grade. The 2 new spells, though, Elemental Vortex, 12 inches, cast on 4s. Any spellcasters count as having rolled 2 less successes for the target regiment until the end of the round. On that target regiment until the end of the round. So, if we think in general, spells are a little tougher to get good numbers on because you don't get all of your higher tiers that make you less for scaling, make you have auto successes, all of that. Which means 2 less successes, you're now looking at, for a lot of these spells, base spells, you're looking at wanting 4s and stuff like that. That's going to be a big shift. Now, they only get 1 spell at this. You're only casting 1 thing. But if you don't know what to cast, this one's pretty good. I do like that. Or if you're really worried about some spells that are going to happen, that'll shut it down. Elemental Missile is a 12-inch magic missile. Take 3 hits. It's automatically cast. You don't have to roll, nothing like that. Just the enemy regiment takes 3 hits. I don't foresee you using that much. That's you got nothing else to do, or they don't have a wizard, or there's a stand left on an objective that's got a wound or 2, and at least this way I don't have to roll for damage. And if you take a look at some of the other ones, depending on the school you took, you weren't taking damage spells anyway. They don't really have damage spells. The Chapter Mage is a lot more of a buff character. So at least this means if you need to take someone down, you have an option now. Okay. I always like additions of that. To me, that's how I would play it. We'll see. All right. Regiment-wise, there's very, very little changes, which makes this easy. Again, you guys got a pretty recent update. It didn't change as much. I'm saying you guys because due to having to get a new car, I never got all those horses that I would have gotten otherwise using a discount code to save 10%. Hunter cadres went down by 5. That's fine. I always do prefer if you do small changes rather than big ones, but super small changes like that, I can't get thrilled about that one way or the other. Saving 5 points, that lets me put in a standard bearer if I wasn't before for some reason. You probably were. The other changes happened to horses. I think that's the next spot of changes. Yep. And this is another one of the ones where they didn't highlight all of the changes. So, Order of the Sealed Temple went up by 20 points. When you take a look at the things they do, I completely understand it. They are quite good. You have a Resolve 4. If you have enough spots, then you're looking at Resolve 5, so you're not really failing Resolves. Defense 3 with Shield, so you're on 4s. 4/realistically 5 on a Resolve if you're putting a character in there or something like that, or taking the extra stand. You have that Fluid Formation, which is going to do a lot of good. So for a Cav unit, being able to start your turn, rotate, then you can charge and get your swings in is huge. You have the impact, all of that. The only thing obviously you don't have is you don't want to hit people with great armor yourself, but if you get hit by something, you're standing up pretty well. So they got a little more expensive. That is absolutely fair, I feel. Guild of Legion didn't change. Order of the Sword didn't change. Ashen Dawn changed in 2 ways. And they did not highlight both of those changes. They highlighted one that wasn't real. So when you take a look at Ashen Dawn, defense is 4. That has not actually changed. That's still the same. Points cost is the same. 80 points per stand, so they did go up 10 points a stand. Now again, this is a Resolve 5 base. So they could be effectively Resolve 6. Remember, you fail on 6s. But a super great Resolve. Defense 4. They don't have shields, luckily. They do have Bless still. So if you need it on defense, no one's moving you. They do have a base cleave 1. They are looking at 6 attacks each on that. Clash of 4. You're getting through what you want. But what they removed from them was Wedge. So remember what Wedge does? Wedge gives you +1 cleave. So if you look at like the previous unit, they have Wedge. We can get something on the charge in. They removed Wedge from them. Order of Ashen Dawn were super strong. This change, they're no longer on the charge going to be cleave 2, cutting through anything that they want. They're less killy, but their survivability is still very high, and that 10 extra points might mean that you can't take quite as many as you used to. That is their changes. There was very little for 100 Kingdoms. So does this change the way I see them or things that I think you would do with them? Realistically, no. I really don't. I think if you were running, say, lots of Ashen Dawn, you might not run as many. I think a 3-pack of Ashen Dawn is still really, really good. They're still very, very strong, but maybe you're a little bit disincentivized to take the larger amounts, to really take a whole formation full. So I think a 3-pack of those guys is still very good. Or to Sealed Temple, they went up. I don't know if they needed to quite as much. Maybe they did. The Flute formation is why. They don't have all the cleave through natural bonuses that some of the other things do. But Flute formation on a Cav unit is huge. That also means you have a better shot at getting into people's flanks and things like that, and then not being able to respond. The rest of the units not getting changed, or just about getting no changes, really makes a lot of sense because they didn't get changes that long ago. 100 Kingdoms, I find, is an army that I feel does need a little bit of help in general. So getting those extra spells from the Chapter Mage is a nice option, especially when you can't let the opponent get certain spells off onto you. That is absolutely key. And their characters had the same sort of thing that all the characters did. They all got a little more expensive. You got at least one of you got your tier 1, essentially, of one of your retinues, not your other pieces. Although your Noble Lord being able to take 2 of the bonuses really does let him now become more of a destructive character. Where before, getting one of them, you got to do a little bit. Now you can get the cleave and the extra attacks. Now you can really start getting into people. So now when you tool your character up to actually do combat, your character is going to be a whole lot stronger. You do lose some of those extra levels, but everyone lost those. So every character kind of took a little bit of a hit to the leg. Although he's able to recover better than most of the ones I've looked at so far. And the Imperial Officer just, giving flank to his unit and giving Vanguard to 2 of them. Doesn't give Vanguard to everyone, but giving Vanguard to 2, that still covers you for quite a bit. That's still going to give you the Vanguard where you need it, say on your horse units, to be able to get them off the field into good positions. All right, well, that'll do it for us here then on this particular one. As we said, put comments below what you liked, what you didn't, any sort of thoughts you have on any of this. How are your lists changing? What are you going to alter? For me, 100 Kingdoms, I'm not really changing that much, but maybe you're changing more than I am. Well, on behalf of everyone here at the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.